So after watching the recent Wuthering Waves 2.6 livestream, I can safely say that I am very happy and excited for the future of Wuthering Waves. But before we move on to 2.6, I wanted to take a step back and talk about the recent 2.5 patch and also Wuthering Waves as a whole. Because while yes, Kuro has consistently brought out fantastic quality of life updates which enhance certain parts of the gaming experience, there are still a few critical issues which I would love to see fixed. So let's get started. Good. One of the best things in 2.5 for me was the auto-lock discard plans for echoes. No longer do I have to go through and check each and every individual echo to see if they're on the right set with the right main stat. Having this auto-lock feature is a godsend, not just for keeping the right echoes, but also in managing them in general. Because before the update, my inventory would slowly fill up with a bunch of echoes that I haven't batch merged because I just couldn't be bothered to go through the chore of checking all of them and locking the ones that I want. Now that they are auto-locked, I don't have to worry when I go to batch merge them all, so I can do this over and over and over again until I have no more trash echoes, all in just a matter of minutes. Though in saying that, it's really annoying that it kicks me out of the batch merge menu each time that I do it. A growing concern I have though is that with the pool of different Sonata sets continuing to grow and expand with each patch, it makes the chances of getting an echo on a set that you actually want incredibly more difficult. They should allow us to select which sets are randomly generated, much like they do with the echo boxes we get from the 1000 gateways. Just an idea. Bad. For me, it was the Phantasma Dreamland. This little minigame was interesting at first. It had cute visuals and the game concept itself was intuitive, but it got repetitive and boring quite quickly. Overall, it just felt like a clicking simulator. Choose the echo on the right set, run it, wait, and repeat. I mean, if you enjoyed it, I am really happy for you. I'm glad you enjoyed it, but for me, it just wasn't all that fun. And this trend of repetitive and boring casual minigames isn't the first. The Wuthering Waves devs seem to struggle with the more casual mini-events like this, but the more hardcore ones, for lack of a better term, like Battle Simulation, Banners Never Fall, and Virtual Crisis have been really fun. The 100 HP debuff in the Elusive Realm was incredibly fun to play. On that point, bring back the Elusive Realm, please! But in saying all that, even though I have problems with the more casual mini-events in Wuthering Waves, I'm glad that they're trying new and different things each time. Just nothing so far has stood out for me as being particularly enjoyable, except maybe the Peaks of Prestige card game, when it wasn't bugging every time I tried to run the fallacy deck, that is. I can't see my cards! It's glitched. There's no cards, there's nothing. There's nothing. I'm looking forward to trying out the new Tidal Defense Simulator in 2.6. That looks promising. Good. On top of the automated echo locking feature, the sync tuning feature also really helped. Now that you don't have to keep going back and forth between menus, it streamlines the echo leveling process. It's not a massive change and I don't really have all that much to say on this, but that doesn't diminish how welcome this particular change has been. Bad. The Rust, Sword, and the Sun Overture Quest. Now, this is something which I was really looking forward to. Instead of having the character backgrounds hidden in menus, I was looking forward to having a more visual experience to learn more about Augusta. The story itself was good, but while the storytelling mechanic of choosing an answer from either left or right was interesting at first, it went on far too long. However, I was happy to hear that our choices would actually have an impact on how the story played out. As someone who hates the illusion of choice dialogue options in games, this was something I was really looking forward to. Until I realized that the vast majority of the answers were either no choice or exactly the same whether you choose left or right. Look, if you're going to make an interactive story, then commit to the bit and make it fully interactive. I'm not someone who skips unvoiced quests, nor do I hate reading in games, but when actual visual novels have more visuals than this, then I think you're doing something wrong. This quest had a good concept, but poor execution. Like I said, the story itself was good, and I'm looking forward to finding out more about what the deal is with that Nestor guy, but the overall experience had me struggling to stay awake. I hope that they improve upon this in the future with more visuals, more music, add in some sound effects, stuff like that, you know? Hopefully it can be improved. Good. I really liked the new region we explored. The Fabricatorium of the Deep was a mixture of creepy and fantastical, with damp foliage making us feel like we were deep down in the depths of the ocean, but also had incredible structures and lighting that were amazing to look at. I liked the gimmicks to open up the new areas, but they were a little too simple, I guess. But even still, it was a nice addition, fitting in with the music and sound themes very well. I still want them to bring out a DDR-inspired gimmick or minigame. Maybe one day, who knows. Bad. Okay, now this is something that has been a problem since 1.0. Building resonators. I don't mean building resonators skill trees or leveling or ascending both them and their weapons. I have zero problems with that at all. Kuro has been very generous in giving resources to progress these things in each patch. A little bit too generous in my opinion, which I will explain in a moment. The biggest problem with building resonators is, and always has been, the ecosystem. People still go on about the method. Well, actually, if you just level up and tune once, then blah 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 blah. Yes, you are right. That definitely is the way to get the most out of your echo experience tubes. And they even made it a lot easier with the auto-tuning feature they introduced, as I mentioned earlier. Love it. Fantastic. But at the end of the day, it is still a method that involves a lot of granular control over everything just to squeeze out enough echo experience. Whenever I hear people talk about the method, it's always like hearing people say, you know, the human body only really needs about 2 hours of sleep a day. Have you heard about the Demaxian or Uberman sleep patterns? That's how you maximize your time to get the most out of the day. If you need more sleep, then it's a sleep management issue. And yeah, to some degree, that's true, but just because it's true doesn't mean you're right. Most people just aren't going to do that, nor should they have to. I think that if players are willing to be that focused and that disciplined when it comes to leveling echoes, they should be rewarded for that. If you put that much effort into squeezing the most experience, you should reap the benefits of getting more bang for your buck, as it were. But it shouldn't be a requirement to do that just to have enough. Because at the end of the day, these gacha games are designed to be casual games enjoyed by a majority casual audience. And that's assuming I have an echo I want to attempt to build in the first place. As it currently stands in the game, the quickest way to get echoes is from tacit fields or by opening boxes from the 1000 gateways. But both of these methods are limited by wave plates, the limited stamina currency in the game. But even when doing these tacit fields, it's not uncommon to get just 1 or 2 or maybe even no usable echoes at all because of the astronomical amount of RNG built into the system. RNG to get the right set, RNG to get the right cost, and then if you already have an echo that you want to equip, there's another level of RNG to get a different echo of the same cost on the same set with the right main stat. And then you go through the RNG of getting the right substats. I'm not even talking about 5 out of 5 highlighted substats either. Do you know what the odds are of getting double crit of any degree on an echo? Okay, so there are a total of 13 possible substats. So that's an N of 13, and you want to get 2 specific substats, crit rate and crit damage. So that means the M is the 2. And if you fully max an echo to unlock 5 substats, that's an objects picked of N5. And the chance of you getting those 2 out of those 5 is this K2. What's that as a percentage? 12.82%. Okay, so maybe you're not doing that. Maybe you're doing the method and you want to get any 4 decent substats in the first 2. What would that work out to be? So it'd be an M of 4 and an N of 2. So out of 4 substats you're trying to get, you want to get any of those 2. What would that be? 7.692%. Nice. And like I said, that's for any percent of the stat, not even trying to get high rolls for these substats, which would only make these percentages even more infinitely worse. So to clarify, after you've gone through the RNG of getting an echo on the right set with the right cost and the right main stat, then and only then do you have a 1 in 8 chance of getting crit rate and crit damage if you fully max an echo, or a 1 in 13 chance of getting any 2 highlighted substats if you're doing that method. To be fair, the main stat modifier helps a little in this whole process, but it's essentially putting a band-aid on an open wound. The main stat modifier is a good start, but I think there really should be a substat modifier too. I think players should be able to use tuners to do this for a significant cost where you can choose the substat but not the substat amount. I've already gone over what I think would be a good system in a past video, so feel free to check that out if you want to know more. The point being is that if a game that relies on you constantly pulling for new characters has an RNG based equipment system, then they need to have mitigating systems in place in case players just get really damn unlucky. I have spent hundreds, possibly even thousands of hours grinding in games to build characters in both MMOs and gacha games. And I don't mind that at all, as long as I know that if I put this certain amount of time and effort in, I am definitely going to get the result I am looking for eventually. I still firmly believe that RNG based equipment systems in games like this are a bad idea that promotes player burnout. RNG on substats works for games like MMOs because you're building just one single character, but in gacha, where the whole point and business model is for the company to sell you 2 characters every 6 weeks or so, why would I pull for another new character when I'm still trying to build the last one? Sure, I could, but then I would also have a growing backlog of characters I need to build, and that doesn't feel good at all. But then there'll be people who say this: if players could build characters so quickly, then they wouldn't bother logging in every day. I disagree. The reason why people log in each day isn't the echo grind. Yes, that might be what many players do after they log in, but the incentive to log in daily is the daily login. The daily login bonus is there to keep players coming back each day to clear the missions and to get the meager amount of premium currency. Daily logins shouldn't take longer than 5 or 10 minutes, and I'm glad that they don't in Wuthering Waves. The point is that the main reason for most players to log in each day is to get those astrites. Using wave plates on weekly bosses, domains and tacit fields is just the extra thing you do along the way. And on top of all of this, let's say you go through all of this grind, all of this RNG, and you finally get a full set of echoes. Congratulations. But that set of echoes is practically useless to put on the new characters, because if you want to get the most out of that new character, you need to pull for the new echo set that they just released too. So then you have to go through all of that RNG all over again. There's also the issue with the lack of character variety in the game too. I'm not going to say much about it in this video. I have a video in the works that I've been meaning to put out for ages now. I've just been waiting for a time that I can post it and not have people accuse me of jumping on some kind of hate bandwagon or something. But all I'll say for now is that I think Kuro should start making more male characters than they currently are, because this is ridiculous, even by gacha standards. And to clarify, I don't mean that I think they should make more male characters than female. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying more often than they currently are. That's all I'm saying. At the same time, we also need more 4-star characters too. Just throwing that out there. And I'm sure I'll have some people in the comments that will say, well, these problems aren't just in Wuthering Waves. You could say the same about other games too. In fact, it's even worse in those other games. And to that I say, so what? I don't care. So what if other games have those problems? That doesn't take away from the fact that these are problems and they are in Wuthering Waves. So I'd like to see Kuro address them. And so what if this or that is worse in another game? Just because one is worse doesn't mean this is good. They're both bad. And on top of that, there are some out there defending these problems in Wuthering Waves just because there are worse problems in other games, which is crazy to me. Okay, so now with my usual echo rant out of the way, back to the good. Weird segue, but one of the best things I thought about the 2.5 update was the story. The story in Wuthering Waves has been getting better and better with each patch. On top of the great voice acting from everyone involved, the music has been fantastic and the visuals have been incredible, not just limited to the environment that I mentioned earlier. When it comes to Rover, I'm someone who generally hates the OP amnesiac self-insert protagonist trope. For me, it's just lazy storytelling. How were they able to do that? I don't know, they were always able to, they just forgot and they always could. Why does that person love or hate them? Something, 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 in the past we forgot, I don't know. Yeah, I really don't like it. These types of protagonists are typically purposefully left blank with the intention that the player can imagine themselves being that character, but in doing so, it creates a massive problem. Okay, quick question. What do Dante, Bayonetta, Kratos, Lara Croft, Geralt, and also Solid Snake all have in common? Yes, they are all the main protagonists in their respective games, but they also have their own distinct and memorable personalities and flaws. A bland, perfect self-insert protagonist loved by all just isn't interesting. That being said, I've really been enjoying the development of Rover, especially in the 2.5 story with Frolova. There have been instances here and there in the past, but this is the first time that I felt that Rover was an actual character rather than just a simple self-insert blank slate. I love seeing Rover mess up. I like when things don't go to plan. I like seeing their flaws because these flaws are what make a character feel real. Having something they did in the past come back to bite them in the ass is relatable because life is very rarely ever so perfect. I hope Kuro expands further into these kinds of stories where Rover has to deal with the consequences of their actions because it creates a compelling arc for both them and us to go through as players. Kuro has been doing a phenomenal job with the storytelling. Fantastic use of the camera movement, camera angles, changing perspectives, and one of the most effective uses of black screen white text I've seen in a long time that hit you in the feels harder than you should hit that like and subscribe button. Speaking of hitting, they've also been hitting it out of the park with the characterization of the supporting characters like Kartathea, Lupa, and now also Frolova, just to name the most recent examples. And though the story was far from perfect, there were a few logical inconsistencies, and I felt we needed to see more from Fenrico, whose final battle was severely underwhelming, by the way. But putting those aside, the story was nuanced with interesting philosophical and ethical questions which prompted great discussions within the community. Overall, for Wuthering Waves 2.5, 7 out of 10.